there are really none. Hemp Plus Industry is closed. Is there another one? That's Mendo is in Ukiah?
Ladyville.
Exactly.
Urban Legend Corporation.
It's not in the center of Ukiah, so a lot of folks have to drive 45 minutes to an hour to get their medicine. It's an issue, a zoning issue. Ironic that we have all of these folks that are on this subject, but in the heart of the Emerald Triangle, where a lot of this is coming from, there's no support there.
And I think you raise a valid point that if it was standardized there, that they would have a hard time on rooting it. My goal in work in Oakland was to create an institution that no matter how hard the government federally came to uproot it, pardon the pun, they couldn't, because they just took the top off and it just kept growing back. And that's the dilemma in areas that it isn't.
Hi, I'm wondering, I help operate a dispensary in San Francisco, and through the regulations we're going to come up to a lot of public hearings, and we've already been through a few of those, and they're pretty scary as far as the neighborhood involvement and et cetera. And I'm wondering if there's a way, or if anybody has thought of coming up with a strategy to help kind of get our ducks in line as far as patient testimonials to support their dispensaries and open public hearings and how to be effective in that. And I love Duncan's book about the neighborhoods and the communities. And one thing when I was helping organize ASA-SF was we were working a lot on our 10 points of consensus before the Board of Supervisors, before we got really into the middle of the MOOC. And one of our points was a neighborhood peace plan. And I'm wondering, you know, and hoping that maybe our community can come up with some strategy before we're right there. We've got 20 open hearings and a bunch of sort of almost ready to lynch neighbors, you know.
Yeah, I agree. That's a very valid point, question, and concern. And I think that I volunteer my time and effort in upcoming meetings that might be taking part to steer the San Francisco collective into making the best choice for the groups that are there. Sorry, that's going to have to be the last question because we have to move on to the next panel. We're running a little bit late, but I think that's rightfully said. I mean, the last question was about San Francisco and how we're going to be dealing with regulations that are coming down the pipe in a few months. And we have to look forward to being regulated and looking like every standardized business that's out there. And we have to get our ducks in a row to make sure that that happens correctly. So I hope that the SF-ASA group or another advocacy group helps to pull together a meeting. Sure, we have another person to add to that.
I've put in a proposal for a grant to try to start a sanctuary integration alliance that actually tries to work with communities. Find people in the communities that want to support the Cannabis Club. They know they voted for it, they believe in it, and actually try to start with them. Not the ones that are already against it, but find people that understand that it needs to be embedded, a part of the community. So, and I know it's difficult.
That's a
Talk to your neighbors.
a big chunk, yeah, of course. But I'm just wondering if we got something, a pattern going, so that we could each club could help each other establish, you know, how they're going to go into these hearings. Because my fear is that these hearings will create some sort of media upstore that's going to backlash against all of us. And I'm just hoping that we can prepare for that adequately. And I just wanted to put that out there for everyone.
Yeah, I understand. I think that's a valid concern. And it happened in Oakland with the backlash there, and Oaksterdam blew apart into many pieces.
That's my concern.
But it was redevelopment, and it was, as noted by Joan, our area that Oaksterdam existed in was in a transition state. They've now sunk $450 million into my back street, and they're not going to make us there anymore, and they wanted us to move. And that's kind of the development. We have to see it coming and be able to move and shake to where they want us. Because we're going to exist in the community.
Plans in San Francisco, I'm sure, too.
Well, thank you very much for Normal to allow us to talk to this.
Excellent. Thank you to all of our panelists. We're going to have a couple photos of them taken here. And if people do have questions for them, they can approach the panelists at the end of this. Hey, microphone, what's going to do? A couple quick announcements here. Tonight we have the Comedy Festival at Cobb's. So get your tickets, buy your tickets. Plan to go there this evening. Next announcement. If you're going to the Tommy Chong Luncheon, just a quick show of hands. Who's planning on going to that? Make sure you have your conference badge. That is your ticket in. If you don't have it, they will not let you in. So make sure you grab that if it's up in your room. We have another panel coming up, but it's in 15 minutes. So we have
All right. Good evening, and welcome to Louisville Late Night. This evening, we're in beautiful San Francisco, California, and I'm very pleased to have with us Mr. Robert Ryan.
Right.
Of Cincinnati, Ohio. And Robert is active in an organization called LEAP. And I'd like to get Robert to talk to us for just a few minutes and tell us what he and LEAP are up to.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time. My name is Robert Ryan. I'm associated with a group called LEAP. That's Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. We believe that drugs should be legalized. All drugs should be legalized, and that in doing so, it will not cut the drug problem, but it will take a huge dent out of the crime problem. Okay, you know, I've attended many conferences. Actually, one down there in Louisville, Kentucky, as well, and you know, a lot of the focus is on how to push the drug dealer from your neighborhood into somebody else's neighborhood. And so, you know, this is just like a big balloon in it. You know, you push here and it goes out there, right? And so our point is that we want to stop this and put the drug dealers out of business forever, make this a medical issue and not a criminal issue. Save the space in prisons for people who are truly dangerous. Like up in Ohio, we had a case by a guy by the name of Randy Brush, chronic pain guy, clearly a candidate for medical marijuana if there was such a classification in Ohio. But he got 3 years for 4 plants. And that's Ohio is no safer for Randy Brush being in jail. He's just taking up space which would be better used for somebody who actually hurt somebody, you know, where there is actually a victim.
Well, tell me this, Robert. Something that's been mentioned is that a substantial amount of the financing for law enforcement is justified as under the guise of the war on drugs, and that if something was to change, that the police force would be weakened. Can you, as a...
I think the police force would actually be strengthened, because then they could focus on real crimes, not crimes of prohibition, such as marijuana. You know, when you arrest a bank robber, the robbery stops. When you arrest a rapist, the rapist stops. When you arrest somebody for a bag of marijuana, what stops? When you arrest a drug dealer, what stops? You just opened up a ad, essentially, in the underground paper that said, help wanted, and you get 20 to 30 different applicants almost immediately, and the drug dealer on the street is replaced, often before the police officer has had time to finish the paperwork. There is a replacement. So there's an endless source.
And it's younger children.
Oh, it's a corruption. It is a corruption from the very bottom of the age group all the way up. You know, from small children who are given $100 to look out and alert them to, you know, presence that are unknown to them, or something's different, or police are coming, or whatever. And these kids graduate up the ranks, and what do they become? They become drug dealers. But it's a bigger corruption than that. It corrupts, you know, from the small child all the way up through communities, all the way up to cities, and whole countries are corrupted by this. You know, so it is a huge underpinning or underwriting of a vast amount of corruption and, quite frankly, human rights abuses and a host of different labels.
Is your organization finding support among the police organizations in the United States?
I was down in Louisville, Kentucky, the National Sheriff's Association meeting, and you know, one-on-one, all the police the law enforcement that was there was primarily sheriffs.